term. Don't remind me. And we just want to remind everybody that we are personally grateful for all the work that you did during the pandemic and helping us through the PPP program. And it was just really our team. And we'd just like to introduce you to Mr. Rubio. Oh, Bill first.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Vinny, for having us here. I'm Bill Hurley. I'm the Executive Director of the National Federation of Independent Business in Florida, and I'm going to tell you just one quick story of the past couple years for businesses like Vinny's and thousands of business owners across Florida. It has been a tough couple of years, and when COVID first broke out, while other politicians in Washington, right down to local governments, were busy drafting executive orders, closing down small businesses, there was one politician who took a different track, and he said, we're going to save those small businesses, and that was Marco Rubio. I will tell you, Marco Rubio reached out to the NFIB, knowing that we represent tens of thousands of small business owners, and brought forward the PPP plan, which saved over 6 million jobs in Florida. And although we worked with Senator Rubio since he was a young legislator in Tallahassee, this certainly was his pinnacle achievement over his legislative career. And so we think it's a great time to send him back to Washington for 6 more years and see what other great deeds he can accomplish. Thank you, Senator Rubio. And NFIB is pleased to endorse you.
And thank you, Vinny. Thank you guys for having us here today. Pretty cool place. Even the media is impressed by it, you know, look, I remember during the middle of the pandemic, we're in Washington and everybody's talking about how are we going to bail out airlines, how are we going to save, because America has a history of having, you know, in 2007, 8, helping big businesses. There's a history of corporate bailout. What we've never had to do is save Main Street America. And I want to remind everybody of what that was like. In jurisdictions across this country, including here in Florida early on, people were told you couldn't open your doors. I mean, it wasn't an economic downturn, it's you cannot work. You cannot work, you cannot service customers, you cannot make money. So I want you to think through what that would have looked like a month into it, 6 weeks into it, when tenants start defaulting on commercial real estate, when people start getting laid off and then are told, go to this website and wait for months to get a paycheck or to get some assistance to the unemployment system. So I remember very early on saying, if we don't deal with this, if we're going to have a calamity, a Main Street collapse that's going to extend into the real estate sector because of the defaults on leases and ultimately a real contagion on the country. So we had no history of ever doing anything. And so we had to work very quickly to put up something, and what we came up with is the Paycheck Protection Program. I'm very proud of that law. We wrote that law. This wasn't a law I signed my name onto. We literally wrote it at a time when there was no one in the Capitol. Literally, it was abandoned, but the senators and maybe 1 or 2 staffers on each side, we were sitting like 20 feet apart. You know, everybody had double masks on at the time. We didn't know a lot about COVID. Everybody was frightened, but we knew we had to get up there and do something, and we had never done anything like it before. And so we designed this program, and the program was designed to do exactly what it's called, the Paycheck Protection Program. Okay, it didn't help anybody make a profit. What it did is it provided money for businesses so they could use it to do 2 things: pay their employees and pay their utility and rent so they could stay open. And as a result, we know for a fact that 6-7 million jobs in the state of Florida were preserved. That's 6 or 7 million families, 6 or 7 million people that would have had no income, no paycheck. Not to mention hundreds of thousands of small businesses that would have been gone, erased off the face of the earth. And so today we would still be in the midst of a catastrophe had that not existed. It was bipartisan. I worked on it with Ben Cardin of Maryland. We wrote it, we named it ourselves, and then we had to help implement it. Remember, the House wasn't even in session. It was just the Senate had to come up with this because the House wasn't even in Washington. And then we had to administer it, and we knew the SBA was too small. There's no way the SBA could have gotten this out. It would have had to be in conjunction with, we had to rely on community bankers to go out and help save people and do this. And I'm very proud of the program and what it's done. It is something that I think made a real difference. I know it did, and I'm very proud of it. And coming to a place like this today and wondering what would this place look like right now if PPP had not existed. But like this, you could go to thousands of places. I don't know what it would have looked like. Maybe it wouldn't be here, maybe just get going. We don't know, but it would not have been a good thing. And so I'm very proud of that achievement. I thank you for the support, and I thank you for the opportunity to let us come in here today and see this place, because it reminds us of what I call the invisible economy. And that is the core of our community. They write the magazine articles and the big commercials are about the big businesses, and they have their role to play in our economy. But what powers our economy, most Americans work in a place that you're never going to hear about unless you happen to go in there, by the thousands in any square mile area of any dense community. That's the invisible economy, but it is the heart and soul of our economy. If small business in America would have collapsed, our economy would have collapsed. We would have had something equivalent to the Great Depression. And the fact that we were able to be a part of something that kept that from happening is something that's made my service meaningful and worthwhile. And I wish we hadn't had to do it, but I'm proud that we did. And I'm grateful for your recognition of it and for being here to talk to you about it today. Is anybody covering this for Spanish? Portuguese? Ok, no, bueno, estamos aquí en un pequeño comercio, entendiendo que durante la pandemia le dijeron a los pequeños comercios que no podían abrir, no podían funcionar. Y estábamos hablando de millones de trabajos en la Florida que se iban a perder y una desesperación total en nuestra economía. Para mí, uno de los grandes logros, posiblemente el logro más grande que hemos tenido en mi tiempo en el Senado, fue pasar esta ley del PPP, que salvó 6 millones de trabajos. Y acuérdense que ese dinero no era para el comerciante, era para que el comerciante pudiera pagarle a los empleados para que no estuvieran sin empleo y para que pudieran pagar la renta. Y cuando vengo a un lugar como aquí, me recuerda lo que es la economía invisible. La mayoría de las personas en este país trabajan o son dueños o trabajan en un pequeño comercio. Y hubiera sido un desastre total, es decir, como la depresión de los años 20, si no hubiera existido este programa que yo creé, que yo nombré, que pudimos implementar, que estábamos solos porque la Cámara ni estaba en función, solamente los senadores estaban en Washington, y que era bipartidista. Y le agradezco a esta organización, que es una organización que apoya a pequeños comerciantes, por su apoyo en mi campaña, y también le agradezco a los dueños de este sitio que nos recuerda del tipo de comercio y de negocio que mantiene nuestra economía viva. I just said how much money you could save by switching to Geico. I took a while.